hello and welcome to another episode of Live 605. We're broadcasting and multicasting to all of you out there. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for joining us at 6:05 Australian Eastern Standard Time. A big cheerio to all of us, all of those of you that are joining us on YouTube, because we're on YouTube as well, as Shave the Man and our Stray Whisker page. It's lovely to see you on the live again. It's always a lot of fun. I actually look forward to these lives, and Wednesday becomes a much more interesting day for me. Not that other days aren't interesting, but Wednesdays in particular are something that I look forward to. The other thing I look forward to, of course, is an espresso. I'm having a double shot now. I'm a glutton for punishment, I know. I don't know how I'm going to get to sleep tonight. But yes, in fact, I had to get up early the other day. It was a very solemn day here in Australia for all Australian and New Zealand service men and women. Thank you for your service, and both people that are currently serving and also retired. They hold a place near and dear to me and my heart. A couple of things. If you're new, type new in the comments below. If you're watching this on the Shave the Man group, just let people know that, let Facebook know that you approve of your name appearing on there with your avatar, so as you don't just come up as Facebook user. It's kind of annoying. And plus, I like to know who I'm talking to. I don't know who I'm talking to if it just comes up as Facebook user. You know who you are, but I don't. So let me just have this espresso to kick things off. Fantastic. I don't think I will be getting much sleep tonight. Anyway, this is something that may or may not interest you. I hope it does. It's a very interesting topic. It's one that has constantly, done the rounds on the forums, on Facebook, on Reddit, and all over the place. And that is, what's the big deal with this cartridge razor, versus safety razors? If safety razors are so hot and so good, why are cartridge razors still available on the market? And we'll have a look at that. As always, I'll touch a little bit on the history of the razor, the safety razor. I don't want to get into it too much because it may put some of you to sleep. That could probably be the subject of another live. It's a very interesting story. It's a detailed story. It's one that sort of involves industrial espionage in some ways. It involves the war as well. And it's very interesting, this transition from straight razors, or the cutthroat as we call it here in Australia, to the safety razor, and that wonderful invention by King Gillette. So that story in and of itself is a very interesting one. Big cheerio to those of you that are on this evening. Who have we got? We've got Stephen. Hello, Stephen. I'm glad that you and your dear wife are watching this live. I'm sorry, Mrs. Carter, but it's just one of those things. He brings you along the journey. That's a very important thing. Hello to Paul Phillips and to Andrew Barnett. Hi, everyone. First time tuning in. Welcome, Andrew. That's very nice of you to do that. I really appreciate people joining in. We've been getting a lot of views after the live because I know that sometimes it's inconvenient. People don't. I know that our friends in the United States are asleep. It's sort of anywhere from sort of 2 a.m. all the way through to 4 a.m. So some ungodly hour, which is probably the time that I'll be awake after having this beverage. Anyway, so it's an interesting transition from the straight razor to the safety razor and the history behind it, and why people sort of abandoned the safety razor and went to the cartridge razor. It'll interest you to know that it was money primarily that did it. When these patents were running out for the dear old safety razor, the Gillette company found that blades were starting to rust and corrode a lot faster, so people were going through them a lot quickly. So there was no saving, really, even though it was a better shave. There was no real benefit in sticking to the safety razor. Yes, the safety razor with the razor blade. And so essentially what happened was that Wilkinson Sword came into the fold, and then they had a technology which was patented at that time of coating the razors, which meant that they would last longer, because these things would become very uncomfortable. You use them once and the bloody things would rust. okay? They'd fall apart, they'd rust, and you don't want rusty metal on your face. That creates all sorts of problems. So it was actually money that led these companies away from safety razors to these horrific cartridge razors. Now, let me say this right off the bat. Cartridge razors have been demonized, and that's not something that I wish to do here. I myself was a user of cartridge razors. I understand the whole principle of them being easy to access. You can get them at any supermarket or pharmacy or chemist or drugstore or whatever they call it in your part of the world. They're readily available. I understand that. But I don't think that they, for all intents and purposes, provide a good quality shave. They provide perhaps a convenient and fast and furious shave, but up until recently, where we felt that we could, the recycling process had improved, because I knew there was no way they could take a cartridge razor and pull the thing apart, and it wasn't economically viable to break this thing down and reuse it. So real recycling has only sort of stepped up over the last 18 months or so through, organisations like TerraCycle. But before that, it was kind of demonised, using cartridge razors and all that sort of stuff. Look, I've had good shaves with a cartridge razor, but that was after I perfected the technique, which is always an important thing. So let's look at why it is that people that do use a cartridge razor are less likely to move to a safety razor. And it's a very, very interesting point. There's a number of facets of human behaviour that we can bring in here. There are sociological reasons, there are economic reasons, of course. There are philosophical reasons why someone wouldn't want to leave what they're doing, the old cartridge razor, leaving this thing here. There it is. There's one. In case you're wondering, there are some newbies here. Some of you don't know what a cartridge razor is. That's it there, if I can put it. There it is, okay? That's what we call a cartridge razor. I'll put my noggin in there. There we are. Yeah. Okay, there it is. That's a cartridge razor using a sort of a plasticky kind of cartridge. And this is a safety razor. Okay, that's the difference there. It takes a blade, safety razor, cartridge razor. That's the two there. That's the distinction for those of you that either care or want to know. So let's look at this. Again, I'm going to bring up some graphics because I love a graphic. Come on, I do. And plus you can go back over this and give it some additional thought. Whenever we look to do something new, whenever we look to transition to something, there's always going to be some tension, right? So you've got an old strategy, an old structure, the way you've been doing things, for years and years and years, even an old culture, right? And to go across to a new strategy or a new structure, and this is human nature, there's tension, right? There are a lot of people that are quite happy where they are. Mate, knock yourself out. If you use a safety razor, good for you. But it's just not for me. How many times have we heard that? And you know what? I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's a good thing. I actually think that at least people know what they want. But when there's some resistance, there, I'm intrigued and fascinated as to why people resist. Quite often they'll throw up things like, late. Have you got a late note? Yes, he has. Okay, he will supply a late note. Thank you. Late. Don't do it again, okay? Don't do it again. Hi, Matt. Matt's on as well. So there is some tension there between going from the cartridge razor or whatever it is you're shaving with into a new way. I get it. I understand it. And I see it daily. I see it with people that come into the store. And I'm well aware of that tension that exists between the stuff that they're used to doing, the old culture, the old strategy, the old way they've been doing things, to now moving to something new. And you would have to ask, why would they? Why would they do it? Well, I'm glad you asked. I know you didn't, but hey, let's just suffer a little bit with this, shall we? Here it is. First thing is perception, okay? People's perceptions of moving from a cartridge razor to a safety razor. It's very important. First and foremost, this is a person will only choose to see certain details about the change. Oh, I don't know. The first one I always hear is, where can I get blades? I don't know if the blades are readily available. That'll make some of you smile out there. Those of you who are wet shaving enthusiasts will say, where can you get blades? I am certain of this, that most people out there that love wet shaving have probably got a lifetime or several lifetime supply of safety razors. Time for some more espresso. So the perception is that we only choose to see certain things. That's the thing. It's how you perceive this change. It's very interesting. The other thing is that a person only chooses to see certain details about the change. Oh, I don't know about this, yeah, I'd probably drop it. I'd probably break it. I normally shave in the shower. I don't know how, my wife doesn't, she looks at it, she's really scared of it. There's all sorts of things. There are all sorts of things. So this is the first thing that we need to consider. It's our perception, our actual perception. The other thing with perception, it also becomes a problem when people can't agree on what the problem is, right? And why should I make a change? How many times have you heard, mate, I'm quite happy with what I'm shaving with. I shave with an electric razor, I shave with a Cartridge razor, and I'm quite happy. Why would I change? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. All legitimate things. These are all legitimate points. So the other thing that's involved is a biological term. I love this. I may have been a biological teacher in a former life. I confess. So homeostasis is basically, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to sit where I am. I'm going to stay put, and there's no need for me to change. It simply means that you want to stay in an environment where it's comfortable. We're in our comfort zone. I don't want to change. Why would I change? I'm in my comfort zone. There's no reason for me to change. Why change? So that's another barrier that we go through psychologically. Now, of course, the key to this barrier is to understand when a particular individual, through the stage of change, right, is more comfortable. For example, someone could say, look, I'm comfortable getting away from canned goo, the stuff that behaves like no more gaps, but I'll stop there. I'll use a soap. I'm quite happy to use a soap and a brush, but I'm still going to stick to my razor. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But that concept of staying where you are, where you feel safe, is referred to as homeostasis. I knew you'd like that for those of you out there that are biological fiends such as me. The other interesting one, and this is a very important one, particularly in communities, there's a sense of conformity and commitment that people feel is kind of important. And by that, this barrier to change is when people think that the change being implemented is not how everyone else is doing things. I went to a barbie on Saturday and nobody uses a safety razor to shave. So you feel like you're the odd one out. No, I'm not going to change anything. I'll stay where I am in an attempt to conform. That can be a problem. It can be a real problem, conformity. And of course, the individual doesn't see themselves putting in more time and effort changing something that they've been doing for years. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's that kind of thing. These are important facets and barriers to entry in whatever it is in life. But in particular here, we're looking at going from, say, a cartridge razor to a safety razor. I know a lot of people that use both, and that's absolutely fine. In fact, here's a little secret. I might use both as well from time to time. Anyway, that's it. You heard it here. The other thing, and this is a very, very strong one, personality factors. Some people, and you know them, you've met them, right? You have this conversation with them, and they're just not interested. They're just not going to see whether it's positive or needed in their life. No matter what you do, they couldn't care less. This is something that they don't care about. Don't care. Sorry, I don't care. It's just nothing. For me, it's a big fat nothing. So they're the factors, the barriers. Somebody put up a post, I think it was Cameron, said that it might be laziness. They don't want to get into this because they're lazy. Well, maybe you've got some laziness issues there. I mean, if you've got to shave, you've got to shave. And of course, all of these things apply to ladies as well. The barriers to entry, for example, of going from a cartridge razor to a safety razor are, I'm going to cut myself. It's called a safety razor for very good reason. You will learn very quickly how to use this instrument. The learning curve is really quite, it's not as steep as you think. And within no time, you'll be shaving your legs and armpits and face and bits and whatever it is with enormous skill. You just got to keep at it. Technique, of course, is very, very important. Hello, Lane. My skin improved immensely when I went from cartridge razors to a safety razor and also changing up to a decent shave. Yes, absolutely. Look, I hear this time and time again. It's true. It's not a hard sell. It's not some sort of, snake oil stuff. This is true. Your skin will improve. And if it improves, your confidence will improve. This is all about personal development and confidence, in case you hadn't noticed. That's what it's about. And if you're providing barriers to you building your confidence, then we've got to change that, I think, if I may say that. Those things need to change. Those barriers might be keeping you back from all sorts of other things which aren't apparent or readily available to you right now because you think, so what? I'm not interested in this stuff. How's it going to help me? It'll help you. It will help you. I have helped quite a few young people that have come in and asked questions about all sorts of things, and it might start off being about shaving and then it sort of goes off on a tangent. I know I can go on a tangent a bit, but I'm sorry about that. I have to apologise for that. But it's important because it will improve not only your skin, not only will you get enormous enjoyment from it. Look, shaving is actually enjoyable. Shaving for me was a chore when I just used cartridge razors. I hated it, absolutely hated it. And I also destroyed my shirts, as I may have mentioned on a previous video, because I just hated shaving under the neck. It was always uncomfortable and I'd wreck my collars. So, it was just one of those things. So think about those barriers. Think about those things that people are changing. Should you go out there and try and ram this stuff down people's throats? No, don't do it. Please don't do it. What might happen, though, is that inadvertently you will encourage others to ask you, to come to you and say, hey, listen, I heard you talking about this shaving stuff. What is this? What is it about? And that will open up a conversation. It's not just about shaving. It's just shaving, but it's not just about shaving. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to just read a little bit around the topic, not about shaving, but just what are the things that are holding you back? What are the things that you do that might be holding you back in your relationships, at work, whatever the case may be? There are barriers there. There are barriers to everything. There were probably barriers to me wanting to put on these lives, but I had to overcome them, right? Share stuff, talk to people, get over those barriers. Andrew, I have the exact same experience. Cartridge razors feel like a chore. Safety razors feel luxurious. And give me some me time. Hallelujah. See that? And now that's the other thing. I always talk about that when people come in. I say, listen, this is your moment. This is your Zen moment. This is the time where you can improve your health and well-being. It sounds like a far stretch. It sounds like that, but it does help this, and that's very, very important, and it's also quite timely. The other very interesting thing, yes, Matt, those had those convos happen many times already. Absolutely, they do happen. Another thing is that we get a lot of servicemen coming through, and I can pick them. Another confession, in a former life, I may have served for this nation in a reservist capacity. So I wasn't a reg, but I served. And those gentlemen have to shave. They have to be well kept. They have to shave. There are certain procedures that they need to follow. And so for them, it needs to be as comfortable as possible. Army issue razors, at least when I was around the place, weren't the best. They were as delicious and as great as the ration pack C. Those of you that are ex-military will know what those ration packs were like. They were a bit ordinary, especially that Kraft cheese they used to throw in there. Anyway, that's another story. So, Paul says, the first rule about wet shaving is don't talk about... That's right. It's like Fight Club, isn't it, Paul? Yeah, first rule about wet shaving is don't talk about wet shaving. People just notice that, hey, you're looking younger, or what's going on here. It's a thing. It really is a thing. And for the ladies as well. It's interesting. The greatest growth has occurred in wet shaving in ladies. Here in Australia, I can only speak of Australia. I don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. But we noticed a significant spike in the sale of safety razors and couldn't quite understand it, couldn't put it down. But of course, there were these delightful mummy bloggers that would get on and say, oh, I use this particular razor and it's fantastic. I was scared of it first, but now I'm, and they're not flogging product, as I say. They're not trying to push product, but it was something that was quite, that then would encourage other ladies to get into this. It's a thing. Hi, Liam. How are you? The whole process is an experience, a joyful experience. It isn't just another boring chore. So glad I switched. I'm so glad you switched too, Liam. Yes. Look, it is. Look, there are days where you don't feel like shaving. That's fine. But when you have to shave, hey, when you're doing it right, nothing beats it, okay? Because there's a process. You go through the whole thing and you become a little bit more methodical. You think about, okay, so here's another thing. It's funny. You hear about people saying, oh, I thought about that while I was in the shower. Why do you think these things happen in the shower or when you're in the bathroom? I thought about something, an idea or something that I wanted to share with someone at work. These things happen when you're alone at that moment. Now, a lot of ideas come to people when they're shaving. You are present, you are intentional, but there's also things that enter the mind, okay? It truly is, without sounding too, esoteric and whatever, this is really a moment where you start to become a little bit more centered. Ladies probably don't understand what's happening in the bathroom there with hubby or with their partner. They think, what's he doing in there? I don't want to know. But whatever it is, he comes out smelling great and he feels nice. And also, there's a spring in his step, right? It's a thing. It really is a thing. Please share your experiences. I'd like to know. Leave a comment below. Let us know if it's something that you have taken up and have seen an enormous change. I know Liam has mentioned that. Paul has. I wonder if Mrs. Carter has as well. That'd be interesting. Look, we're all one big happy family here, and sharing is caring. Please let us know if it has changed your life. For obvious reasons, it's changed mine. But encourage young people, for example, to sort of look at it without being too preachy and just sharing your experiences. Young people need mentoring without being an official mentor. They need some guidance, and they won't tell you they need it. They're not going to tell you, right? Because they're all too cool for school, man. They're not going to tell you. They will not be explicit about it, but it is implicit in the way they conduct their day-to-day dealings with people. You'll see it. You'll pick up on it. And that's very important, particularly now. And I'm glad we're having this conversation about these things. It is very, very important. Just as my double espresso is, look at that, it's almost evaporated. So, your experiences, please share them. That's what this is about. I noticed who else do we have on the live here? We have Abby. Oh, look at that video quality. You're very cheeky, Abby. Very cheeky. Yes, it is pretty good. Thank you. Dave James took it up because he wanted a cool razor. I'm glad I didn't get in to save money. No, David, I don't know how much money you've saved, but I can just imagine how much you've spent. That's an interesting thing. Anyway, it's a great thing. You don't have to spend loads of money to get into this, but it help. Better for the environment, better for your face, equals a win-win. Look, absolutely. And I know, and this is a fact, and there's research that's borne this out, there's a lot of men that are less likely to care about the environment than the benefits for them, but that's changing. That's actually changing. Blokes are saying, yeah, look, I don't want this stuff ending up in landfill. Look, if you throw this away, it just ends up in landfill. It has to. It's plastic. But as I say, with TerraCycle and all these other organisations now, they're pulling this stuff apart. They're making park benches and picnic tables and whatever else from it and recycling the metal. So it's a good thing, right? It's happening. Stephen Carter, no con. She complained how She complained how long I used to spend in the bathroom doing my hair. Now she complains how long it takes to remove my hair. Yes, my bald brother. I feel your pain. It's growing in places it shouldn't and isn't growing where it should be growing. Peter Skoulis, what gives a closer shave, a safety razor or a cartridge razor? Now, that's a good question. Once you've dialed in how to use this, without a doubt, Peter, the safety razor. This, people just go for it. It's quick, get in there, I've got to shave for work, and they think it's faster, but it will create irritation because what you've got to do is you're pressing, so you're pressing and dragging. That's got to irritate. This is why people don't shave. This is why they're leaving this is why this whole bearded thing now has taken off, because shaving with this can be uncomfortable. Having said that, I have to admit that when you pick up a cartridge razor and try and shave your head, it's a very close shave. You can do it with a safety, and I have done, but that's more a technique. You have to sort of take your time. So my answer to you is, if your technique is right, definitely the safety razor. If you want to move to a safety razor, you could. I'm sure you've got a bit of time on your hands there, Peter, but you can definitely transition. The cartridge razor thing being, faster and closer is a myth. Yes, okay, Stuthy. So every second day is shaving day. Every other day is Nablus Day. Therefore, every day has a part of discovering tradition. Thank you, Con. Thank you, Stuthy. Now that sounds like a shameless plug. This video was sponsored by Stuthy. No, thank you, Stuthy. There are gentlemen like Stuthy that have definitely taken on this way of life. Yeah, I know, cheesy. Taken on this way of life, and it's certainly improved their interpersonal relationships. I know that for a fact. I'm not saying Stuthy needed any improvement in his interpersonal relationships. We all do, anyway. So it does help. It really does help. It's not just pie in the sky stuff. There's something about the weight of my safety razor that makes me feel like I'm doing something properly. Can't explain why. Something deep and philosophical, I'm sure. Yeah. Yes. When you're holding this thing in your hand, because the sheer weight of it feels like you're doing so. Interesting. I mean, I mentioned military personnel that come in. I also should mention that there are trades people that come in, carpenters, chippies, electricians, all these guys. And when they pick up a safety razor for the first time, they go, okay, yeah, all right, I'll take one. Yeah, but you want me to? Thank you, I'll take one. Because they're on the tools all the time. They're on them day in, day out, so they appreciate things working and working efficiently. What time is it? Look, I think it's probably time I left. Thank you so much for joining the live. I really appreciate it. If there's anything that you would like me to discuss in particular, because I don't want to get on here and start waffling and giving you, psychological analyses and sociological analyses on why we do things and why we resist and why there's tension between changing things up, let me know. I know in the early days a few people thought I was going to get on here and start reviewing products. Reviews are subjective. There's a lot of really, 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 really good products out there. And if I sat here and said, this is a good product, this is another good product, this is a very good product, this is a not so good product, you'd fall asleep. Some of you may have already fallen asleep. I don't want to be that guy, okay? So I'll try and give advice as much as I possibly can based on the experiences that I've had here and elsewhere. But I really want, the most thing is I want you to think about intention, spending time with yourself, taking your time. Don't rush things when you're shaving. Enjoy it. Look at improving your technique incrementally as you go along, and you'll just love this way. And it will help you. It will help you. Oh my God, what was that? Oh my God, bring that back up again. Oh my God, hump day means. Kai, you cheeky man. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. As I say, if there's anything that you'd like us to cover, let me know. There's all sorts of ways you can contact me. You can leave a message at the bottom of this video, or you could, DM me or whatever. I'm available. David has fallen asleep. I wonder who's pressing the Z's on his phone. Anyway, that's it. That's it for me. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Remember, if there's anything you'd like us to cover, just leave a comment below. As long as you don't want me to talk about black holes and the universe and everything, and the answer is 42 always. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next live. Have a great week, everyone.